Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Equine Episode Examination, where today we will be discussing this past weekend's episode, every little thing she does. So, first off, thank you so much for sticking through last week and canceling twice. Sorry about that. I was feeling a little under the weather. I know Mr. Ben was still adjusting to his schedule too, so we kind of just pushed that back just for the betterment of everyone's health. So I'm doing a lot better. I'm still recovering, so pardon me if I am not quite as excitable today or excited about the episode as I normally would be. It's not the episode. I'm just still trying to take it easy to recover from everything. So just remember, keep your body healthy, all that kind of fun stuff. So
we all know you're just secretly a Starlight hater.
Yeah, no, I hate, god damn Starlight. I was so pissed off. But
I just find it really funny that I missed the episode, not last Saturday, but the Saturday beforehand, and then subsequently we missed Triple E both last Tuesday and last Wednesday. Butterfly effect, son!
Yeah. So today we're gonna be discussing this past Saturday's episode as per normal, every little thing she does.
Can I just say that's a stupid name for an episode? It tells you nothing about the episode. It's like calling the episode "Ponies Does Things."
Well, I mean it's a parody of
yeah,
the song.
It tells you like jack all about the episode.
Well, I mean most episode titles don't tell you that much from it.
Tell me more than that.
But anyway, and so today we're going to be discussing that, and then tomorrow we'll be making up last week's episode with Viva Las Pegasus. So we're planning on doing that episode tomorrow at same time, 5 p.m. Just so we can get back on track. In addition to that, just while we're here talking about scheduling kind of things, remember we will be having our live watch together, whatever you want to call it, live chat, not really live, but of the new Equestria Girls movie Legends of Everfree, which is releasing here in America this Saturday on Netflix. So obviously we can't stream it here, but we thought it'd be kind of fun, if we all can just at least get together and watch it together and chat during it. So pretty much you can bring your own episode. So if you have Netflix, you can just pull it up on Netflix. If you don't have Netflix, knowing this fandom, I'm sure you'll be able to find it in a billion places before the day is over on Saturday.
It's already on YouTube from the Brazil airing. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but we don't know exactly what differences that we'll have. But I know what
length of the video. I'm gonna say there's a high amount of doubt that there's a lot cut, if there is anything cut.
But if you don't get the Brazilian version, just because we won't know until the Netflix version is out if there's any changes for it.
The Netflix version is more likely to be the
and like Matt said,
version.
The freaking TV airing from Brazil was already online in English the same day. So yeah, the Netflix.
It aired the 24th of September, and it was easly up like the early 25th of September in English.
So
someone was streaming it in Portuguese.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll be able to you should be able to find that no problem before Sunday. So just go ahead and get that. Bring it with you. We're just pretty much going to be streaming a time code, so we can all kind of queue up. So if you come late, you can queue up to around the same part, so we can watch it together and have fun. As for Triple E, believe it, we decided that what we're going to do for Triple E is we're going to. That's really weird. That noise is really distracting. Is everyone else hearing that?
It's a repeat.
I'm definitely hearing it.
Okay, I just want to make sure it wasn't anything on my sound end here. It was just really because it was really deep and but yeah. So we'll for Triple E, in terms of the Equestria Girls movie, we've decided that we're gonna wait till after season 6 is over. For a couple reasons. One, just because we'd have to probably shoot it on a Saturday in place of a riffs or something. And obviously season 6 is coming to the end here as we get to the
watch stuff like Super Duper Sumos. Whatever shall we do?
So So instead of doing that or pushing riffs back on Tuesday, we're so close to the end of season 6 now that we're gonna get through season 6. We'll do our end of season Tripoli episode, and then directly at the episode directly after that, we'll talk about Legends of Everfree, and that's for a couple reasons, and also I guess for another reason is the Blu-ray version of it doesn't come out until November, beginning of November, so we won't have any music or anything else from it. So by that time, we'll have all that stuff. Everyone will have more than enough time to have seen it either on Netflix or by the Blu-ray or whatever, and then we'll be able to discuss it, timed right after when season 6 ends. So I guess it seems like the best thing to do. So unfortunately, we'll have to wait for discussing that a little bit, but I think probably the best thing to do there for that. So now, with all of that kind of business, behind the scenes business out of the way, let's go ahead and discuss the episode at hand for today here on Tripoli, Every Little Thing That She Does. And we'll just start with everyone's initial thoughts on the episode.
Starlight replaced equality with slavery. Well, no, I would say slavery, more like hypnotism, but there you go. But
it was forced friendship.
It was unintentional slavery.
I don't know.
I do like how this episode gave a lot of callbacks. We've had callbacks to No Second Prances, Lesson 0, It's About Time. Even the super speedy cider squeezy 6000 was directly mentioned, and Spike even expressed a fear of spiders, which was referenced back from Castlemania.
We learned that Fluttershy is not afraid of spiders, or at least not when she's being hypnotized.
Interestingly, Starlight even keeps a couple of posters or pictures right beside her desk that directly reference the events of the Cutie Map and No Second Prances, and she even uses her self-levitation ability for the first time since the Cutie remark of Part 2.
I think just overall, I enjoyed this episode a lot. It was a good Starlight episode. It's great to have another episode focused mainly on her and her teacher-pupil relationship with Starlight. It was really well done, really well paced. Had a lot of great humor and visual humor as well. And it was a nice episode for Starlight. There's a couple minor things I have problems with in the episode, maybe like one, but we'll discuss that when I get there. But just overall, this is a really enjoyable, really great episode for her.
Yes. Brain, we couldn't have any more Applejack in the episode. Deal with it.
Fuck.
No.
Be prepared when we get to character discussion. I'm going to go on a 2-hour rant about the lack of Applejack in this episode.
Oh, God. Why did you not do this during the CMC episode from a couple of weeks back? Anyway, I like this episode quite a bit, actually. What surprised me about this episode is there was the preview that came out and the real negativity surrounding it. It never surprises me with this fandom, with how presumptuous this fandom can be about any particular episode.
Oh, fucking tell me about it.
It only has to show even a remotely negative connectivity to say a trailer or a sample of the episode, and people just go absolutely apeshit. And to be fair, it doesn't really take a lot for some in this fandom to just want to hate on Starlight anyway, because people have got their issues with them, and hey, you're entitled to your issues, and I'm not going to say that some of them aren't all unwarranted, because some of them are, some of them aren't. But what I do find kind of baffling with this fandom, considering everything that's gone on, is there seems to still be a lack of trust in the writers, and I find that quite sad, because the writers, particularly a lot of these newer writers have shown that they have real care and attention to detail in what they're doing, and they actually give a damn. It's not like they're doing this just to have a mark on their CV or just to pay the bills. They're doing it because, well, they want to do it. And,
I think a lot of it is fear, not of that they're going to deliver a bad episode, but fear that they're not going to deliver exactly what they want.
Sort of. I think the issue here was people were just taking the negative connotation and saying, yeah, Starlight's doing shit, but she's not going to get, like... It's like, you've not seen the episode yet. You've got no context in what the preview does. If anything, the preview was probably the only thing I could criticize is the actual preview itself, in that it doesn't really do a good job of sort of summarizing what you're going to be seeing. It's just it's intriguing, and it's making you want to think, well, what's led to this point, but it's not, I would say, necessarily a good advert for the episode, because really and truthfully, it's not like fully what the episode was about or anything. I know obviously you don't want to spoil anything, obviously, but I don't know. I wonder if this episode may have come over slightly better had there been because there's been some episodes where they've not released any preview at all for the episode. So
Matt,
it's just a little interesting.
The answer to that. The answer to that is no, because people knew Starlight was in it.
I think the interesting thing with this episode is just how much what they're trying to do is to have episodes where we have basically like Twilight as she was necessarily before she obviously became a princess. Now obviously we can't use Twilight for that because she has now ascended to princessdom, so now they're trying to use Starlight. Now the issue that I can see a lot of people will turn around and say is, well, what about Sunset? Well, Sunset's in another dimension, so we can't do nothing with her. The interesting thing with Starlight, though, is she has some of the characteristics that, pre-Princess Twilight has, but she also has a whole bunch of different ones that make her more interesting in some regards and less in others. I'm not gonna say it's all one way street. It's not, but it's interesting of just how weak her social skills are, and she seems to have a very she almost has like an aversion and she's almost like scared to socialize, because she's kind of scared of perhaps her own power, maybe. I mean, it's interesting to think that she's not said that directly, but you think what she's actually been able to achieve just with her own determination and her own trying to think of the word for it, but she was able to basically command a whole town basically to her whim without using a spell. In that regard, she was essentially using mind, basically a mental state of being, not using any magic, which that's something that I think they may need to touch on a little more. But they've shown her to have extremely high magical abilities, and I don't have a problem with that, because she's going to be good at something. I mean, we've seen from the CMC episodes that everyone at least every pony has a talent that they excel at. We've obviously seen that, and now some people are going to turn around and say, well, what about Twilight? Her cutie mark was magic, and it's like, no, we don't think that is. Now, that's not really the case, because she was the element of magic, but as we've seen from the other elements, like say kindness, loyalty, honesty, and so on, that's just I think it was a crutch for being a character trait, and I think there's more to each of the characters now, because they've sort of slightly done away with that. And a lot of people have turned around and sort of, trying to say that Starlight shouldn't be as magically capable as Twilight. And in some regards, I don't think she is still. But in other ways, I think she kind of is. I mean, it's weird to think that some people can't think that Twilight has to be this, almost, now that she's become a princess, that she has to be lording it over other ponies.
Here's the thing with Twilight too, and her magic in regards to that point is, remember, Twilight is a master of the most powerful magic of all, which is the magic of friendship. But that doesn't mean there aren't other ponies that are very good at, or maybe even better than Twilight at other forms of magic. It isn't just like Twilight is the most magical pony in the world and she is the most powerful at doing any kind of magic. No, she's very specifically, the show says many times that, friendship is the most powerful magic of all, and that's the kind of magic that Twilight is the best at. It doesn't mean that no other pony can be better at another form of magic than she is.
And the other thing is, I think Starlight is also trying to compensate for her weaknesses, of which she has quite many. And obviously in this episode, it's basically her social skills and her ability to be able to do activities with, just in a friendly manner with other ponies.
Well, isn't Starlight, Celestia's school, in response to Zerna in the chat, isn't Celestia's school for isn't that for like fillies? I mean, I think Starlight's probably a little too old
to adolescents. Yeah. Probably.
I mean,
we've never actually seen it like in the show, so it's kind of. I mean, obviously, unless except for in flashbacks, very briefly, we've not seen a great deal of it.
And so instead of going to like pretty much sending an adult to elementary school, she's pretty much getting one-on-one tutoring with Twilight, and in the same, the same kind of, concept as Celestia's school.
And before people say Starlight's privileged,
it's that purple coat
she
color.
Kind of is, but then again, so was Twilight with Celestia. So
Well, I mean, it's not really privilege as much as it is, just raw talent and ability.
Yeah.
That's saying.
I'm not being serious.
I know that. I'm just kind of still offering a counterpoint to it. Just, that's like calling, some really talented, sports player privilege just because he is like on a really good team or something.
Privilege because she's very fast at flying.
Yeah.
She's had that natural ability ever since she was a filly. It's not something she's learnt per se. It's something that she's just been, lucky enough to be able to have.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess let's kind of get on to kind of officially the story and the writing of the episode here. So this episode was another episode written by Mike Vogel. Who's written quite a few episodes this season so far, and has been credited for story and even more episodes this season. So pretty much kind of like a junior story editor in terms of what he's done this season. So he is the writer of this episode here. I mean, I guess I'll go start off by saying, I'm really happy to have, to see another Starlight Glimmer episode. Been waiting, since pretty much the Trixie episode for another episode with her. I'm not really one to complain about, lack of Starlights, because I know there's been a lot of, funnily enough, as much hate as Starlight gets, there is just as much vocal, people being very vocal about Starlight not being in the season enough. And I don't want to say I don't want more Starlight Glimmer episodes, because I would love to have more Starlight Glimmer episodes with focusing on her character this season. But you also have to kind of understand that there's only 22 episodes a season that aren't going to be opener or closer episodes, and there's obviously a lot of characters that are vying for that episode time. So I can understand with them, she got the 2-episode opener. I'm sure she'll have some sort of involvement in the close, in the finale. And then she had the musical episode, and she had the one with the episode with Trixie, and now this one. So that's still a good deal of episodes in the season, and we gotta space them out to other characters. So as much as I would love to see that, and hopefully future seasons we'll get more with Starlight as well. But it was still nice to just have another episode devoted to her.
We need that bloody Celestia episode. God damn. No, that is a legitimate complaint you can level, that we don't get enough of her.
Yeah, I mean,
Agreed.
It's one of those things where it's like in the early seasons, it made sense, but 6 seasons on, come Come on, guys, throw us a bone. Give us a Celestia. There's so many different ways you could go with a Celestia episode, so you gotta give us one eventually.
Though, can you imagine the pressure on that episode when that does happen? No.
Oh my god, it's gonna be like Half-Life 3. It's just better not to release it.
What you mean they're gonna do a valve and just say, yeah, we're totally working on it? We're not working on it, guys. Yeah, we're totally working on it.
No, I believe we're getting our ponies confused. That's Philly Fantasia, right?
It'll be the series.
It's got your favorite character that hates apples.
Fuck that character. Fuck Rose. Jesus.
It'll be the series finale after and show what happens after Essie is the only character left. That was a year now after everybody else is dead.
She's just there sipping on her tea at the table.
We should have Luna for company.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They'll be playing their 7 millionth round of chess.
Yeah, I will echo what Tim is saying in chat, in that it was nice having Twilight be there, but she wasn't like a commanding presence in the episode. It isn't like she was holding Starlight's hand the entire time. She let her go and do these things on her own and fail on her own.
So she basically said to her, look, you're getting behind on your friendship things. Try and do something about it while I'm away. And Starlight did do something about it.
Come on, Starlight, get good.
I hate that term. God, I hate that term.
Good. I'm happy you do.
Well, I'm sorry, but if I'm not good at a game and I still keep playing, and I'm still not good at the game, then fuck you, basically.
Well, then you need to get good then. Simple as 1, 2, get good. Now I'm just pressing buttons. I really like the I think one of my favorite parts of the episode was actually the cold open, in actually just getting to see Starlight and Twilight pretty much having that magic duel with each other, and seeing how evenly matched they both are and how good Starlight really is at magic, because we've seen her do some obviously very impressive things with magic all the way back to her introduction in the beginning of season 5 with her cutie mark removal spell. So it was nice seeing them both.
That's sort of a reference to sort of the cutie remark, though, because we could see that Twilight and Starlight, in terms of broad magical ability, were pretty even there.
Yeah, so I mean, it was just nice seeing them having this one-on-one duel for that entire cold open, and just seeing them Starlight wasn't struggling or learn. They were just really just like one-on-one, really doing well. And Starlight really is kind of like how, like an earlier season. I shouldn't say older, younger, I guess. Earlier season, Twilight, especially just in her use of magic, she just really uses magic for a lot of stuff. I mean, and of course that we see that the whole kind of crux of the episode with her using magic to try to complete the friendship lessons. So just seeing her overuse the magic throughout the episode was a nice parallel to that. I'm not
Has
sure.
anyone mentioned Spike yet?
Not really. I have stuff to mention for the character discussion of him.
I was just meaning in sort of in terms of the story, though. I think he had a much sort of similar kind of role to what he had in like the season opener here, where he was sort of trying to help Starlight, trying to help guide Starlight. It's kind of interesting to see how much from Twilight is like rubbed off onto him. I mean, it's almost sort of a point of that he could help teach her almost as much as Twilight can, in terms of like friendship like issues.
Well, Spike really is supposed to be the assistant role, so I really don't see how Spike, couldn't, do that, essentially.
But it's just nice to see him doing that because there has been like plenty of times where he's just essentially been like almost like a comic foil or he's just there to make a snarky remark in the past, whereas here he's a lot more like he's almost as much hands on as Twilight is, but obviously he couldn't stay to help her because obviously he was needed in Canterlot with Twilight because plot reasons, basically. Because to be fair, he would have told her it was a terrible idea what she was doing had she sort of had someone with her.
See, and I do like the fact that as you even mentioned, pretty much like the only person we ever see Spike actually assisting is Twilight, and it's nice to see him not just assisting Twilight, but actually being an assistant to someone else for a change.
Well, he was an assistant to Applejack in Spike at Your Service.
Well, yes,
but a lot of people don't like to talk about that episode. But hey, he was an assistant there to someone else.
Well, let me rephrase my statement then. At least see him being a competent assistant to someone else.
I still like that episode. Come at me, haters.
It's funny with this episode. It really kind of takes quite a turn in the second act when it really becomes very, very creepy, and in terms of the tone and what's going on in the episode. That whole second act was just insanely funny, but also really creepy.
Very dark humor. Well, not very dark, but a darker shade of humor that the show doesn't always really go with.
I think one of the things I really liked about the story structure of this episode is how Mike laid out the episode acts, especially in terms of what happens in the second act. So the second act is all kind of the craziness that happens after Starlight casts the spell, and everyone's a little crazy and weird, and acting really weird and following anything that Starlight says to a T. I'm really glad that they didn't drag that out into the third act. I was surprised when Twilight came in and obviously put a stop to that at the end of the second act. We go to commercial. In my head, I'm thinking, oh, the episode must almost be over. And you look at the time, and there's like 9 or something minutes left. I'm like, holy crap, there's still a lot of time in this episode, and we've already kind of concluded that whole craziness part of it. So it leaves Mike left the whole last act, the whole third act.
He didn't rush the resolution.
For the resolution for the. I'm getting to that. I'm just. But it allows the entire final act, the final third act, for the resolution for the apologies and the lesson, and doesn't really try to rush all of that at the end. And the pacing's really nice, and it really makes that last act feel a lot more natural. It isn't just like Starlight's like, oh, I apologize, and everything's okay. It really has a lot of time to really kind of rebuild her repertoire with the rest of the cast there, with her apologizing and then having the montage with her helping him out and proving to them that the rest of the group that yes, she can be helpful and do things even if she's not good at some things, and seeing each of the characters, especially like Pinkie Pie, who's a little distrusting at the beginning of that montage, and then and at the end of that part of it, she's laughing along with Starlight, and that whole ending just it felt just very right. They didn't try and drag along that funny part in the middle, and really left enough time for the conclusion, which I really liked.
Also, who knew that Fluttershy would be one of the ones that's better off after a hangover? Because that's essentially what the ponies had there, a hangover. And like the worst one there was probably Rarity. Like when Fluttershy is too loud for you to speak, you're kind of boned, really.
She's always like hungover though, with her very quiet voice, and doesn't like loud sounds. She's just constantly hungover.
Well, to be fair, when you have to deal with Discord, you probably do need to be turning to drink.
Or Angel.
Well, yeah, to be fair, Angel's worse than Discord.
He's the true evil mastermind of the show.
God, I will laugh so much if they made him like the big bad of like the very final episode of the entire series. That would be fucking hilarious.
All these villains are all he'll be the big villain from the movie. He'll have his own big song number too.
Yeah, I want him to sit on a big throne of rabbit bones.
It was also nice in the episode seeing the rest of the characters understandably very mad and frustrated with Starlight. I don't know. It was something that felt a lot more real in terms of making the episode feel more real in terms of their reaction to what Starlight did when she comes to apologize. And after she's going through his apology and starts to walk away, they forgive her, and we go into the montage scene. But it was nice seeing them being very, very angry with her, especially especially Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie was pretty funny.
Actually, that's one thing that I think the only black mark I have against this episode is the term chillaxing being used, because it's a bit like saying dude in a 90s show. It's gonna kind of date the episode because of that. I'm not gonna wail on it too much because it's not that bad, but it's still there, and I don't see why they couldn't have just called it chilling or just relaxing, because that's same.
Because it's Rainbow Dash.
Yeah, but she's not known for. She's not like bloody Sonic the Hedgehog or Dippy Fresh usually, though.
This is the character that has one of the most overused lines in the entire series.
Except for the fact that she only's ever said it twice in the entirety of Generation 4, and one of those times was in Equestria Girls. The other time was in the show. That's it.
But I mean, I can still picture her using the word chillax.
I guess. But
I'm not defending the word. I'm just saying it fits her character.
It's a tiny nitpick. I'm not going to say it's actually any real issue. It is something that is going to date the episode to the 2010s, though. I will say that.
Yeah, I was mentioning this with a couple of friends. I mean, that was my only real complaint with the episode was that I don't mind the word if it's used sparingly, but they were just throwing that word out practically left, right, and center, and I'm like, that just hurts me right in the 90s, man. That just ow. that was the one time I think maybe the only time in this entire series that I've actually found myself wincing whenever they just kept using.
The only other time was when Apple Bloom did that. What was that brief thing where is it Appalicious or whatever it's called, and Twilight Licious when they were doing a similar thing to that. I think that's the only other time that I would say that it's been an issue with the show, because what I love about this show is with the lessons and everything that it does, it kind of makes it a lot more timeless than a lot of shows that are sort of their time, and that's why I like this. I like the show so much, even among many other reasons, but it rankles with me, but it's not like it's a deal breaker or anything with the episode, because it's not like it's something they like incessantly go on about. It's just there, and it's just something I would thought I'd mention.
Oh man, where did I see this? Ah, here it is. It's a small one, but it's like every time she mentioned that word, this is pretty much like the mental image I got.
Oh, Tim. Hey, since the Powerpuff Girls 2016 is using buzzwords like selfie sifter, I wonder if they'll actually literally throw in a chillax, which is a cold axe, as will happen some point.
Well, to be fair, MLP has a much more badass scepter anyway, the Twiceptor.
I will say the one thing that the one issue that I did kind of have with the episode, it isn't really with the episode itself. It's more in the episode's placement. I really like this episode, but I feel it would have been better if this episode had come before the Trixie episode this season, because it would make sense for Starlight to then go out and be making new friends on her own after this episode happens, and after kind of the lessons and getting back on top of her friendship lessons and being around other ponies and making friends. Because it would make sense for that episode to come after this one.
I'm going to disagree.
Coming before, it's a little weird, because here she is. She's already gone out on her own and made her own friendship lesson and made friends with Trixie, and then she's coming in here and she's been putting them on. I mean, it isn't like totally break everything. It's not like a huge issue, but I just think it would work better if it came before that, because we can see that progression with Starlight after it. Yeah, I'm not saying they shouldn't spread it out. I'm saying they could have flipped these two episodes and have this episode be earlier in the season, and the Trixie episode being later in the season. So you could still, have obviously you're right. They want to have her episodes spread out so they're not all at once. But it would make sense more to me.
The thing is, I think with the episode with the Trixie one, the idea was for Twilight to make a friend on her own, and obviously she I think the idea was that she had a natural friendship blossom than necessarily being forced to be with others. I think this is just a total guess and a surmise. I think the reason why, I think they wanted her to obviously get a new friend that's away from the main six, and that's absolutely fine. I mean, that is something that I was hoping that would happen, because obviously we don't want her just hanging around with the main six. I've got no issue with that, but I want to see development from her beyond being just with that group, and and that's what we got. I think with what they were trying to show here is that the thing, while Starlight made that breakthrough with Trixie, it seems that she's kind of, not necessarily regressed, but she's not moved any further forward with her friendship lesson. She's sort of, she's had that big relieving moment of, oh, I've managed to make another friend, but then she's kind of sort of not known where to go next, if you see what I mean, and she's sort of regressed in that area, and so in that time she's basically been sort of trying to impress Twilight with her magical abilities to obviously try and compensate for that. And then obviously Twilight then says that she's been slacking on her friendship lessons, and and obviously her friendship a part of her education, you could say. And obviously, then obviously the idea is that she can obviously then hang out with other ponies in Ponyville. It may not necessarily have been the main six. Obviously, they made it the main six in this episode. I'm going to say purely from the sense that obviously, we want to see as much of the main six as possible. I'm not going to deny that because it's why a lot of people love the show. Let's not be beating around the bush here. It's the case. I don't think it's that big a deal, and if you had flipped it, yeah, it might have worked marginally better, maybe, possibly. I don't know.
Well, here's the issue.
The thing is, though, the show is meant to be able to be seen, not necessarily. I mean, obviously there is a lot of callbacks and stuff, but in terms of do you have to see it, the other way around or whatever? I don't think it's a massive deal breaker to me. At least.
I mean, I never said it was a massive deal breaker. I'm just saying I think it would have worked better. I mean, everything you said is true, but at the same time, Starlight also already had another friendship thing, just like the Trixie, where she did something more on her own, or in that case, directed by Twilight, in terms of making friends with Sunburst in the opener. So she's already made two friends.
That wasn't making friends, though. That was rekindling an old friendship.
But I mean, it's still the same thing. I mean, they haven't been.
Not really, because obviously
when you haven't seen anyone that long, I'm not saying it's the exact same thing, but as a starting point for her, it was a good thing because she hasn't seen him for a while. They're obviously two very different people. They've gone through a lot since then, and so it was like getting to re-know someone for the first time, even though you had that previous friendship. I'm not saying it's just as hard. It's definitely easier, and it makes sense for that to be her.
Harder.
And that makes sense for her first, her first friendship lesson. It made sense for it to be him because that kind of eases you into it. But then you have him, and then you have Trixie, and then you have this episode where she's struggling again, and then I'm not sure if we have any other Starlight episodes for the rest of the season, which just seems weird because after this episode we should see her making friends, left and right. It just would have made more sense to me if we would have had the Sunburst episode. Then she's having some problems with her friendship lessons because I made up with Sunburst, I'm feeling good, and then she's focusing more on magic, and then we have this episode, and then this episode pushes her to go out and make a friend on her own, which is obviously someone Twilight didn't approve of, which is really fun in that episode on its own.
After getting, rekindling the friendship with somebody, she's feeling good. She's feeling good. That's why she's managed to be able to get the friendship with Trixie, and then she's kind of stagnated. But that's how I see it. I'm not.
But that doesn't make any sense because then she's feeling even better after picking up a second friend. So why would she stagnate then?
To be brutally honest, probably, it's like anything in life. You've achieved something, and then you think to yourself, oh, it's going to be easy, and then it just doesn't come to you. I've had that happen to me a lot of times. That is reasonably relatable. I mean, I'm not going to say it's done particularly well here if you do it that way round, the way round we have it, but it's I don't know. It's not something that really rankles with me all that much. It doesn't. Do I agree that it might work better the other way around? Possibly, but it is what it is. I don't think it. In the end, in a sense,
I mean, we can agree that it isn't a huge deal.
If you watch the episode, if you watch this season and you flipped those episodes, just flip those two episodes, and maybe move a few others around, maybe possibly. To be fair, I don't think it would really matter. If you just flipped those two episodes, would it really make a huge difference to how the narrative is? I mean, basically the whole idea.
I think if you're looking at the season as a whole, it would make her character progression better for the season.
I don't think it.
I'm not saying I'm not saying it's going to make a world of difference or anything. I'm just kind of saying I think it would have worked better in hindsight if they would have done that. It's just one of those in hindsight things,
It's interesting. It's interesting that they moved the CMC episode basically essentially to have more balance to how many CMC episodes there were spread out throughout the season. That would probably be a very interesting question to level at Josh Haber probably and say to him, what was the thinking of having this episode,
Well, I mean,
after the Trixie one.
To be fair, this is something that would have had to been done really early in the planning stages. I mean, it's easy enough to push an episode back like they did with the CMC episode, but to bring a later episode like this forward would be next to impossible once the episodes are in production, because you're starting on the production on the earlier episodes first and then working your way back. So this would have had to been done really early in the season. In the planning stages.
This been the 21st episode, obviously it would have, had they have decided, we need to do that, what would have happened, it would have pushed the show back basically in terms of when it was going to air.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously,
exactly.
Hasbro have got to have their episodes on time.
But it was nice, on that regard, it was nice that they did actually call back to the Trixie episode at the beginning, though. So they did kind of, even though I think it would have worked better the other way, they did stick that at the beginning with Twilight saying, you made the friend with Trixie, but then you kind of stagnate, right in the episode. They didn't leave it like hanging over without saying anything. So at least at the very least they did that, which was a good move.
They obviously they wouldn't need that. Obviously, had they done it the other way around,
I guess they still could have. They just would have replaced Trixie with Sunburst. I guess.
I think the whole theme here is that there is development of Starlight's character. I don't think it's necessarily how sort of in terms of the order it's doing it. I think it's not it's not going to make the world of difference. Would it be better? Possibly. I'm not going to say it's definitely, because we, unless we sort of were able to go back in time and they did do it the other way around, then obviously we'd be able to say different. But
let's just end by saying definitely, possibly,
maybe,
definitely, possibly, maybe. Gosh. Okay. Let's move on. Any other points for the story that anyone wants to make for the story or the writing? I mean, I guess I will say again, just to echo, that I think Mike did a fantastic job on this episode, and like every single one of the episodes he wrote this season, I think was really, really good, like above average for the season. So I mean, and this one is no exception to that. So it's nice to see him not only.
The season's been pretty high.
Yeah, and it's nice to see him not only writing all these episodes, but participating in the story development for a lot of the other episodes where he wasn't the actual writer for it.
Do you think that might have something to do with the fact that he had a sort of a more executive role before sort of coming to writing? So he's got quite a lot of sort of organizational he's obviously got organizational skills from that, which obviously he can lend into for this as well.
Yeah, well, keep in mind, I mean, it's also he's been on the series longer than even the current story editor has. So I mean, he definitely has that knowledge of the series, being that he's followed every episode closely and had to approve scripts, and he obviously has a very tight knowledge of all of the characters and the stories. I really, really hope that if we get the future seasons, that he still has a very prominent role in them, because he's done really, really well. And I mean, I have to give him more credit, because it's it's easy for us to say, well, he's been here since season 1, so obviously he has all this knowledge. But it's not just having that knowledge of the characters, but putting it, that pen to the paper and writing the stories really well himself. So he has all the knowledge of the characters and stuff, but he has written really strong episodes, and he knows what it takes to have a strong episode, and he's able to write it, which is great.
Well, the kind of proof of that is, I still think in terms of the season, one of the, I wouldn't say it's a bad episode at all, but sort of one of the sort of more forgettable episodes was actually written by someone that was probably the most veteran writer on staff, Dave Polsky. So. Mm-hmm. It just because you've written for the show a long time doesn't necessarily. I mean, there's the case of not necessarily running out of ideas, but sometimes you just run out of steam. A little bit out of steam, and sometimes you just need to take a bit of a break. I mean, look at M.A. Larson. He took a season break and then came back and knocked it out of the park again. So
I can't really blame that episode that much on Polsky. I think he did really well, but I think it was the
written episode. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I think it was the content he had to write. The content he had to write, like transitioning the CMC over was kind of, it is like this transition episode that is in the end, just winds. It's just pretty much like the second, like in a trilogy. It's like the second movie that is just getting us from the first to the third movie, and sometimes that can be a little forgettable at times. I really hope he. I really hope he has another episode this season because he really is one of the great writers of the show, and like his episodes in season 4 were just so good. So I hope he gets another episode this season because he can write some good stuff.
I want my Cindy Morrow episode. God damn it.
Yeah, the way the actual plot ended up going was especially well done, especially since I saw a clip of the preview, which was, showing Starlight first having hypnotized the main six. I was like, what is she doing? Why is she going evil again? But then the actual episode shows up. Oh, okay, she did it by accident, and then she ends up using the spell of bio where she can stew, and we have this whole Sorcerer's Apprentice thing going on.
Yeah. Let's see. So we can move on to the characters and the characterization of it. Let's start with Spike, because I think Spike was just again really well written in this. Like he's been really well written all this season. I think even for his small part in this episode, it was really well written. I loved seeing that continuation of him and his friendship with Starlight and helping her and pushing her to do better. And I just think that continuation from the previous episodes, especially the opener this season, was really nice to see. I was just really happy that they had this scene with Spike trying to help Starlight in that middle, because it just felt so right after what we've gone through this season.
So it's kind of funny how much of a swing it's been with Spike, because I wouldn't say Spike's ever been terribly written in the show. I mean, I know some people would disagree with me on that, and I think that I'm not going to say that people are necessarily wrong to think that. There are episodes that have had some questionable choices, let's say, but I think with Spike this season, they've just found the sweet spot of what to actually. I think the problem that they had with him in season 1 was a very simple one. They simply didn't really know what to do with him. Yeah. I think that's a fair point to really say. I mean, he was Spike's assistant, and that was kind of it. I mean, there was nothing else there. I mean, the only episode he got was All's Well That Ends Well, and really that was a poor episode. That was a poor kind of introductory episode, but in some regards, it was a good one in the sense that we show that he's a kid character.
It's a good one because we can only go up from here.
I still like that episode. I don't care what people say. It's funny. It's most of the Spike episodes I like that I find fine, like Spike at Your Service. People just tell me, like, "Oh, this episode's terrible. It's awful." It's like,
see, I wouldn't call it terrible.
I don't like in the show, but I don't think any of the Spike episodes have been them. Maybe Dragon Quest because of some. I will admit I don't like Dragon Quest all that much. I'll say that, but. It's funny. It's taken them, I would say, until season 5 really for them to really know what to do with Spike. But now that they have worked it out, it's fantastic. I'm going to say, I think the real breakthrough for Spike this season was the season opener with the interactions with Starlight. I think that was the thing, and I think the thing that cemented that was obviously the episode with Princess Ember. And him basically I think he's essentially basically come of age really, and that's a great thing for the show that we can have such another strong character to add with everyone else that's there a good chunk of the time.
I think it's kind of twofold how why Spike episodes are a lot better this season and last season, because they figured out kind of two things. One, they're finally making him like more mature, so he isn't like every episode that's just focused on him, like a Spike episode actually focused on him. It isn't just him just screwing the pooch on something and learning from it, like all the past episodes have been. They're actually giving him episodes where he's more mature, acting confident, actually, helping and progressing as a character very quickly, and so having episodes where he's being that more mature and giving him more time to shine has really helped. And second, they've also done what he's always done best, and they've been doing a lot more with him with what he's always done best, and that is being that assistant role, being that sidekick. He has had some really great episodes this season and last season, but at the same time, I really think Spike is at his best when he's in that sidekick role. He's a very good supporting character in terms of being able to literally morally support other characters, and we see that him doing that this season very prominently with Starlight, and it's just something he's really good at, and we see that again in this episode. It's fun seeing that sarcasm he can get towards other Starlight or Twilight when they're doing something wrong and he knows it.
He's not lost his snark that he's always had.
But can I also jump in and mention that I've also noticed that this I've also noticed he's demonstrated that during the Changeling episode as well. Even though that was supposed to be technically a Spike-centered episode when he was meeting with Thorax, he was still mainly acting in a largely supportive role.
Wait, what did you say? What with Thorax? I definitely heard mating with Thorax.
No, the meeting with the...
Meeting? Okay.
I have my mouth kind of full of pizza here, so,
okay, that's probably why.
You can have lots of little baby change dragons.
I saw a different episode than you did.
Okay, that I will say that is kind of funny. But anyhow, as I was trying to say before, I was I'm that'll teach you to talk with your mouth full, Mr. Ben. Anyway, the episode that he was meeting with Thorax, he was still largely in a supportive role, even though that was technically supposedly a Spike-centric role. He is still technically largely more of a there in
he's supporting another character.
Yeah. Excuse me.
It's interesting, and the one with Princess Ember. He was essentially being the one supported by Twilight and Rarity, though. He was obviously having to go out and do something, to essentially, basically sort of like a coming of age kind of thing for young dragons, and obviously he was the one being supported there. So there's got sort of an interesting sort of role reversal in that episode, and it still works very, very well.
Yeah, exactly. Since he's being that very mature, taking ownership, not failing at at what he's trying to do constantly.
But he wasn't doing it in the same way other dragons do. He was using his own strengths in his own way to be able to do what he needs to do, or to try and do what he needs to do at least.
Yeah. So let's see. How about Twilight in this episode? What does everyone think about Twilight's characterization?
Those lessons with Celestia seem to have really paid off. Seriously though, it is interesting how much I think she's shown a lot more. She's always been quite direct, Twilight, but I think here she's a lot more hands-off. Very hands-off to start with. And that's great because it gives, obviously, the room for the story to breathe, and obviously it gives Starlight the ability to be able to make her own fuck-ups, basically. But it's interesting how, she genuinely is upset when Starlight essentially, is failing so badly and doing what she was doing. It's interesting to see that, she's still pretty and I do wonder if there's a bit of, if I fail Starlight, I'm failing Celestia kind of going on there, which would be a pretty Twilight thing to think, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. Don't have anything to add on that point, but I totally agree. Yeah, she's a student teacher, pretty much. Yeah. And I think not to beat a dead horse here, but I think that's another way in terms of Twilight. I think this episode could have worked a little bit better before the Trixie. It's just because of the friendship lessons she's doing. She's doing very kind of basic friendship lessons with the main six, which I don't know. I guess to me it kind of seems a little weird that she's doing that so late in the season. But then again, these are probably lessons that she gave to her very early in the season, and she's been putting them off. So I guess thinking through it makes sense.
Well, to be fair, who'd want to bake a cake with Pinky? That's fucking horrifying.
It's a piece of cake to bake a pretty cake.
Gotta do your cooking by the book.
Someone needs to edit that end to where Pinky starts to sing in this episode, and that just comes out of her mouth.
Oh, God. Yeah, but to be fair, it only have to be 9 seconds, because that's how long the song was.
She actually doesn't. She pretty much says that, doesn't she? Actually say it's a piece of cake to bake a pretty cake. Isn't that what she says?
I believe she does. Yes, it was a direct reference.
Wow.
Yes.
Let me confirm that, but I'm pretty sure that was.
It was
indeed
pretty.
the case.
It was pretty close.
I now want to dub in that bit from Monty Python where they go, cut that out. And
Yep, it is word for word. It's a piece of cake to bake a pretty cake.
Wow.
surprised they didn't get sued.
Thanks, Mike.
He was obviously. What show is that from? Oh, Jesus.
I think that's
I know.
Lazy Town.
Yeah, I was gonna say
That's
that's
the
from
one.
Lazy
That's
Town.
the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The most meme-tastic kids show.
Is it?
That's old school memes.
Do what you want, 'cause a pirate is free. You are a pirate.
Yep.
I thought
That's also from Lazy Town,
I thought the
too.
number one children's meme thing was the CDI's Zelda games.
No,
boy.
no child should experience those games.
It's funny that I've actually played those games, and they are not the worst games I've ever played, but god damn are they fucking frustrating games, though.
Yeah,
You literally have to play that game for those games just for the cutscenes.
Yeah. Anyway, with Twilight in this episode, I guess
Twilight is going up to Starlight saying, "My boy."
Oh God. But I did like how she like I said earlier, she wasn't really that prominent in it, but she was there in the right moments of the episode, but she still let Starlight kind of do a lot of this stuff on her own, and was just there to support her or to tell her when she's wrong. It was nice to see her get very frustrated with Starlight too at the end there, like, what were you thinking, and let her know that. But it was just it was nice to see her teaching style.
She seems to be a little bit more emotive in her style compared to, say, Celestia, where I think Celestia's obviously got thousands of years of experience to be able to sort of do it a little bit more calmly.
Yeah, she has the I don't have time for this shit demeanor.
What, Celestia?
Yeah, Celestia.
Well, no, she's got plenty of time. She's just like,
And she still doesn't have time for this shit.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, she's seen that shit so many times. It's like, fuck. It's like, oh, this is the 17th time I've had to deal with a parasite infestation, for God's sake. Really?
Come on, Twilight, get good.
You're just doing this now just to trigger me now, aren't you?
Hey, the magical spell needs a trigger, so we gotta do something.
I'm sorry, but nothing will beat the triggered face for
Diamond Tiara.
Diamond Tiara, yeah. Nothing will beat that.
See, I do have to admit that Twilight won face of the episode for this one here. That's just my opinion.
Oh, what, when she found out what Starlight had done?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what the hell is going on?
It's funny because someone needs to. I'm surprised I haven't seen this. Maybe someone has put that picture side by side with Starlight's yelling face from the season 5 opener, the one where she has that big gouging vein coming out. Because it was very, very similar expression on both of their faces there.
There was actually a caption one on where was it? Where Twilight was screaming quiet with that particular face. I don't actually have it up, but I can probably look for it real fast.
Yeah, Flo, should I stop being so loud?
In the meantime, let me go ahead and toss you with the one that I made, actually. Been sitting on this one since yesterday.
See if it'll load. Oh, there it goes. Oh gosh.
While we're looking at that, I was just gonna are we pretty much done with Twilight?
Fuck Twilight. I'm done with her.
No, I mean, because to be fair, there's not really too much more to really say.
No, I mean, yeah, she had a she had a that smaller kind of part of the episode, yeah.
Because
So-
basically, Rainbow Dash in this episode was pretty much like Dippy Fresh. In fact, I now want her dressed as like Dippy Fresh now. I could totally see her wearing those kind of
Dashy
clothing.
Fresh.
Dashy Fresh. Freshy Dash.
Freshy Dash? Nah.
Here it is.
Or Dippy Dash. Sounds like a relative of Derpies. We've also learnt that Fluttershy isn't too bothered by spiders when put under you know, basically hypnosis or, you know, basically mind control spells. So I'll definitely say, oh, by the way, Fluttershy, can you take that big spider out of the sink for me, please? Thanks. Why do I get the feeling that you'd say that to Fluttershy and you go in the bath and there'd be a whole family of spiders in there instead, saying they were so cute and she had to keep them?
I guess like Spike's reaction. It's like, I didn't know there were spiders in the castle.
It's like, yes, Spike, you did a terrible job cleaning. You now should be disappointed in yourself. Hey, it's probably one of the first times where the size of the castle has kind of been a plot point. other than when it took Starlight a while to find where she was going in one of the obviously one of the episodes, beginning of the season, I believe.
Yeah, the first episode. So yeah, how about Starlight and her characterization in this episode? So obviously this is her episode. She has the most. She's on screen all the time in it. So, what does everyone think about her in this episode?
She no longer wants equality, she just wants total control. No, that's being unfair to her. It's very interesting to see just how much she's wanting to impress, which is kind of what Twilight was trying to do with Celestia, you know, sort of early on, and that it's a case of I don't want to let Twilight down. You know, I've been given this sort of it's almost sort of a feeling of sort of, you know, I've been given this sort of second chance. I don't really feel like I should screw this up because, you know, who knows what will happen, sort of thing. And yeah, it's very interesting to see how Starlight has, you know, it's a lot of people will call it like a regression from her sort of evil state of how she was, because she sort of was quite a commanding character. But it's kind of interesting to see what's actually behind the veil is actually quite it's quite sad, actually. You know, you think that she sort of never really had too many friends, sort of, you know, growing up. She's, you know, she found it difficult to accept, you know, losing sort of the one friendship she had, and then, you know, she essentially sort of felt that, you know, everyone should be equal to basically balance that out, sort of thing. And it's very interesting to see how that sort of has shaped how she has become. And now that she's been given sort of this new sort of, you know, chance for sort of redeem what she had sort of become and what she had done, it's very interesting to see that she can sort of slip into, say, old habits, and that's actually a good thing to see, that, you know, that she's not fully there yet. She's still very much a work in progress. It's not like she's magically like gotten, like, you know, right on top of things really, really quickly. It's something that's going to take time, and may take, you know, a very long time for her to, you know, fully be able to be, you know, fully accepting and fully au fait with the magic of friendship. And I find that kind of refreshing, and kind of, you know, it's good because it's going to give us a lot of material going forward. And I think there are steps of a character obviously progressing here. You know, she's learned a very, you know, valuable lesson, and I don't think before people say anything, I don't think she was really trying to actually brainwash anybody. It was a case, because from what she was saying, it sounded like she was combining several magic spells, basically out of sheer desperation of being able to try and actually impress Twilight more than anything else, of being able to, you know, do more than one friendship lesson at a time. And it's interesting to see that how much basically sort of the pressure that you put on yourself is what sometimes is your own undoing in many ways.
What is everyone? Here's an interesting question I like to pose to everyone: is what do you think are the differences between Starlight and Sunset Shimmer? Because obviously there's a lot of parallels that people try to make between the two, given their pasts and their reformed nature, and pretty much filling the role of Twilight in their respective series. What does everyone think? You know, what differences do they have? How are they different or the same in terms of characters, or are they really just the same character?
The major difference? Experience. Sunset had experience of learning the magic of friendship with Celestia and rejected it, whereas Starlight never had that opportunity.
And here I was just going to go for the smart-ass answer of saying that Sunset's actually trapped in a situation with humans.
She's also yellow.
No, but there are some people will say there's no difference. There is, though. There is a clear difference. It's Sunset knew the lesson of friend. Sunset knew the lessons of the lessons of friendship from Celestia. She was tutored by Celestia. It's not like she didn't know about the magic of friendship. She essentially rejected it and moved on somewhere else for her own things. Obviously, she found the errors, realized the errors of her ways thanks to Twilight and that. But it's very interesting to say that it's a case that with Sunset, she's sort of in a similar position to what Twilight is now in Equestria, essentially helping the version of Twilight in Equestria Girls. So I would say that she is a more progressed version of Starlight, basically, a lot more progressed, and obviously, like I say, she's sort of an amalgamation of the two in a sense that she was taught by Celestia, but then found she sort of lost her way, whereas I think Starlight was always a lost at sea, a lot earlier and from a lot younger age, which makes her probably slightly more damaged goods in that sense. I don't mean that in a nasty way. I just mean that in sort of, in the sense of how much she's probably got to learn.
I slightly disagree. Not really disagree, but just offering kind of an additional point to what Tim is saying in terms of Starlight in the pressure of social interaction and whatnot. While I agree with that, you also have to... She still does have that intimidation and... what's the word I'm looking for? Manipulative nature. Very, very, very... I think that's kind of like maybe the difference. Because... Yeah, she does use magic, and she used magic to take the cutie marks away from her little everyone in her town there. But a lot of the stuff that she was doing was very psychological. It wasn't like she was using magic a lot to change them like she did in this episode with the main six. She was really using a lot of psychological weaponry in that episode, and what she did in her town. And I guess that's kind of maybe a little bit more of a difference in terms of that. Starlight was a lot more manipulative in that. She could be intimidating and she held it, but she was really manipulative. Sunset is a lot more. What she did in Canterlot High before the first Equestria Girls, just out of pure intimidation. She isn't that manipulative or conniving. She's just very intimidating towards other people. While Starlight is a lot more. It's a lot more of a mental thing, and she knows how to manipulate other ponies to make them feel a certain way and adopt her line of thinking of that equality sense.
Same. I've also just mentioned in the chat room, but I'm going to expand upon what I've noticed. I've also noticed that a lot of Starlight's actions do seem to be a little unconscious. Not unconscious, but subconscious. Like she does what she does, but she's only doing it because she's done them for so long. Since we don't know how long she's really been running that town back in season 5, but it's been kind of implied that she's been running things like that for quite a while. And when you act in a certain way, or when you do things for a certain period of time, when it becomes second nature, even when you're trying to adjust yourself or become like a different person, certain habits take a very long time to break. And even when you're trying to actively change them, there are still underlying features in your psyche that kind of still make you act in that certain manner that you may not be consciously aware of. And that's kind of where the situation where you say that she's still kind of acting in that sort of intimidating factor. She's not really meaning to act manipulative or intimidating. It's just the way that she's done, because she's done that for so long, and she may not even fully realize what she's doing. And because of this is kind of like where, when she falls back onto her whole use magic to solve everything, she's just looking at it in the short-term possibility that, hey, I can get this to maybe solve my problem, but she doesn't really think her actions or her consequences through all the way.
She's basically the child equivalent of just copying the answers off the internet and hoping that no one notices.
I suppose.
But good teachers will be able to weed out that shit.
I would say we also see in this episode that Starlight just really isn't one of the things she lacks versus Twilight. I mean, obviously they're pretty evenly matched in terms of magical ability, but she definitely doesn't have the organization that Twilight has, and we see that in the episode when she's going out first to try and do the friendship lessons before she does all the magical stuff, when she's actually trying to do it legit. And she's just being bombarded by all of the other main six there with trying to say, well, here's what I want us to do, and they all kind of throw stuff at her with like, no, we can't do that there, or no, we can't do that before that or after that, because that won't work. And she gets to the point where Twilight would be able to organize that a lot more, but she just gets to the point where she just runs away, and she just cannot handle all that stuff coming at her. But in addition to that, too, we see some similarity with Twilight in that as well. In that particular situation, yeah, she's not as organized as Twilight, but we do see that she really does, as Tim has been talking about in chat here for a bit, she really does have those Twilight levels of anxiety under pressure, especially when we're talking about like previous seasons. Twilight's obviously grown a lot as a character, is able to manage that more, even though she still has her moments, but really she's just like lesson 0 kind of Twilight here in terms of just completely crippling under that pressure and resorting to what kind of similar things to what Twilight was trying to do, and resorting to her magic and the spell or spells.
I think you're missing the key difference between Starlight and Twilight. Twilight is far more adorable when she's sweeping.
Well, see, Starlight just she needs to get some better motivation. She looks so sad. It was such a sad sweep.
Yeah, we need a slow version of the Twilight Sweep song for that scene.
Sweep.
Break it down, and then we have like a dance version, and they do it really fast.
One of the things I did see leveled at the episode, and this is more related to story, is why didn't Starlight simply use the duplication spell we saw earlier to deal with all those issues? The problem is, this isn't like Pinkie Pie's mirror pool where she can just make infinite duplications. That spell specifically was just making one copy, and it isn't even making a copy. It isn't like making a clone. She didn't copy or clone herself. She was just she was moving very fast between two places, so it looked like there were two of her, but it was just one of her moving really fast. And we know that
optical illusion.
Yeah, exactly. And we know that because she was talking. This is just after she had done that speed spell, and she was saying, I can use that speed spell and with this other spell and kind of almost be in two places at once. And they also did a really cool effect with the audio where, it sounds like she's going like this, like you can hear her her voice going between those two places as it, as she's doing this. So no, that wouldn't have worked as a solution to the problem of doing all these different things with these friendship lessons with the main six.
Even if the magic did allow her to essentially copy herself, I kind of get the feeling that such a advanced spell would require a significant amount of mental energy to keep it up.
Yeah.
So I dare say that even if she were to make a physical construct, she wouldn't have been able to keep the spell up for very long. I imagine that would have been very taxing on her.
What do you mean? Twilight was able to make a physical construct. She was able to give birth to life by changing was it an apple into some chicks.
Except that one time when it didn't go quite well.
And
you got the flying orange.
Well, yes, but this is the whole thing was that's basically sort of taking one state and transforming it into another. Hatching a chick, hatching an egg into a live chick. Hatching an egg into a live chick. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is the origin story for Scootaloo, Twilight went back in time, used her magical spell and created a chick, it hatched, and there you are, there's Scootaloo.
You best be glad Everlasting Joy's not in the chat right now.
It's funny we were talking about transfiguration because we see Starlight and Twilight doing transfiguration in the cold open to this episode, in that duel. They do this. It was a nice callback. They do the same exact transfiguration spell that Twilight was trying to learn in Too Many Pinkie Pies, and also that we saw, I believe, again in Magic Duel.
But the thing is, this isn't so much transfiguration. This is conjuration and sustaining said conjuration.
Yeah, I know. I'm just talking. So. I'm talking in reference to changing the orange into a bird. But it was nice in that respect. In terms of continuity, it was nice to see that she has completely mastered that spell now. She's able to just transfigure those things like that, both her and Starlight.
Now being an alicorn kind of helps.
Yeah.
Well, Starlight's not an alicorn.
Yeah, but Starlight's special.
Twilight's special. Everybody's special.
I was about to say that actually sounds more like a burger combo.
I'll have the Twilight special with a side of Scootaloo fries, please.
Oh.
New introducing the Starlight Special on $5.99.
I'm the one that only makes the Scootaloo jokes.
Twilight eats so much of that Hayburger place. I bet she has her own special there by now.
No, it's probably why she goes in, because she's a princess. She gets discount.
I'm the fucking princess. I can eat here for free because I say so. Okay, please don't hurt us again, Twilight.
Hey, I saved Equestria's butt so many times. Give me my free hamburgers.
The next time I have to save Equestria, I'm specifically not saving this one restaurant.
Why can't I imagine someone like Rainbow Dash doing that?
I can't.
That is just so vindicative and petty, and I could easily see Twilight doing that. Like Tira comes to town and like starts raising the place, and she just deliberately lets the restaurant get blown the hell up because someone snubbed her there.
Let's see. Anything else for that anyone wants to talk about with Starlight and her character and characterization?
I can't think of anything else.
Okay. Any other character discussion or characterization discussion that anyone has for any character before we move on, real quick?
Applejack and her family.
I don't know why I'm dancing while I'm saying this because no one can see me doing that. It's kind of weird, and I have my window open, so I hope no one's watching.
It's like side gagging for an audio recording.
I talk with my hands, so it's just like it happens. Okay, so let's go ahead and this episode had a lot of. Oh no! Well, it had a lot of voice acting too. I forgot we got voice acting first. What does everyone have to say about the voice acting in the episode?
Barbie is a manipulative bitch.
Oh, we already knew that.
See, everyone did really well on the whole hypnotic or hypnotized voices. It's just everybody just sort of speaking out that line. We'll do whatever you want, Starlight Glimmer. It's both. They nailed it. It sounds really humorous, but at the same time, it also sounds really, really unsettling.
The funny thing is we don't really need that voice credit list because this episode was literally the main six and Starlight and Spike. So this is like, I think this is like the only episode this season where we've had just pretty much the core cast, and that's it.
Yeah, I was actually gonna look for the voice cast list myself, but then I realized, wait, we don't have any guest voices on this episode. It's just the main six and Starlight and Spike. Or the main 8, technically, if you want to, include them.
The mate.
No, but yeah, just I don't really know. Just everyone just sounds so. It sounds so natural, but at the same time, it sounds so unnatural. It's weird. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. They all, like, every single one of them did such a great job with those voices when they're all under the spell. I really like Pinky's voice because it's just some of her lines too were just so funny there. Just with that tone of voice and that look in her eye.
Can I also say that the facial expression also with like the majorly dilated pupils just also, kind of adds to the creepiness in comedic fashion as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was just a whole thing. The voices, the look of the characters, and the animation, and the lines they were saying were just all put together really well to make that really creepy and really funny at the same time.
I kind of want to see something like with Pinkie Pie, only with like the dilated eyes and the hypnotic voice or the hypnotized voice, and just have like two of them standing at the end of the hall and be like, "Come play with us, Starlight." I mean, they've already made other references. That would have been a nice fun little touch too.
Come make a cake with me, Starlight.
Oh boy.
As long as it's not cupcakes.
Oh God.
No.
Something a little more subtle that I noticed that just kind of stuck out to me when I was rewatching the episode today before we went on was the difference in pronunciation of the word foyer between Starlight and Rarity. Rarity starts out with saying foyer, very 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 fancy kind of way, and then Starlight comes up with a line and just talks to and says foyer directly after that. I don't know. I guess it just fit the characters really well, and it was funny just hearing that difference in pronunciation of that word just directly after each other.
What you're basically trying to say is Starlight's a scrub.
She's not as fancy as Rarity. Rarity, Pinky's out. Wait, that can have a different connotation in this show. Let's see. So let's go ahead and move on to something we got a lot of in this episode as well. It was really good at the humor. So what does everyone think about this episode's humor?
Let's say, well, we've got where to start from here. We've got again the main six minus Twilight, and Spike with just literal minded behavior under Starlight's mind control spell. Starlight tells Rarity to make a dress like the one in the picture, and then she proceeds to actually make a drawing of the dress in question. And then Rarity tries to make a real version of the dress, but at the same scale, with the mouse wearing the lipstick, modeling the dress for her. And then we had Applejack telling stories about the photos, which somehow leads her to saying a famous quote that was presumably said by one of her relatives. And we got another couple of references in here.
Well, didn't we learn that Applejack's father was Batman?
or Spider-Man. That was a Spider-Man quote, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was a Spider-Man quote. There was also a sort of a Braveheart quote as well in there. Had Starlight telling Fluttershy to round up all the animals in the foyer, or foyer, however you like to pronounce that.
I'm back. My pizza came. I'm having pizza too. It's exciting.
Yeah.
The foyer.
Yeah. Then, of course, the next time we see Fluttershy, she's managed to get every animal in the castle, including the spiders, the snakes, and other such bugs, and that are just now crawling all over every inch of her body. And then, of course, sometimes, Applejack's little. When Starlight's like, please just summarize these in like one sentence or less. Applejack summarizes it, but it kind of leaves it in a sort of an orphaned punchline that kind of doesn't make sense if without getting the rest of the story behind it.
Turns out Granny Smith didn't know how to make a pig do the backstroke.
Then we had. I'm just trying to.
Another one of her lines. They can take our farm, but they can't take our freedom.
Yeah.
I love that. It was out of nowhere in the background.
The surprise reference to Predator of all movies as well, with Big Mac is Dutch. Pinky acting surprisingly grumpy and indignant because with Starlight casting the mind control spell on everyone actually caused her to burn a perfectly good cake, and she's like, I never burn a cake. And just not Fluttershy's, but Pinky's priorities just getting kind of skewed. But speaking of Fluttershy, further, just Rarity telling Fluttershy of all people to, can we please just speak more quietly? The very fact that they got away with a reference to like what's obviously a hangover at all is just something I didn't expect.
The Hangover MOP edition.
Yeah.
Which is funny, being that this episode came after Viva Las Pegasus.
And then Rainbow's like, here's a friendship lesson for you. Don't be a dick! Don't cast spells on your friends!
I was away, so maybe you already mentioned this one, but I liked Spike in the beginning, where Twilight's saying that they're going to go out to do this whatever with Celestia or whatever, and so she's like, yeah, we'll be back, and Spike's like, yeah, what should be like 20 moons from now? It's like, no, it's just going to be a day. I love Spike like that.
Yeah, and then of course we've, as we mentioned earlier, the Lazy Town reference as well, with Pinky just taking that line word for word.
On top of that, I like the fact that we have Pinky starting to sing, and then Starlight's like, no, we haven't got time for that. No time.
Second time they did that joke.
We're on a schedule here, no time.
I also do like how the fact that we had a situation where, not a situation, but a scene where Starlight. I'm sorry. No way that these two people can get these names mixed up. Twilight, Starlight. No, obviously two different names. No one can fuck those up. Starlight is with Pinky, and she's reading out the instructions to the book, and Pinky's limbs are just going all over the damn place.
The animation there was so great. on her arms there. So great.
And Pinky's just not even looking. She just automatically reaches for what it needs to be and just automatically adds it in. Like, damn, I wish I could bake cakes like that.
To be fair, that's probably how Pinky normally bakes cakes.
Another Applejack line I liked was the reference with a whole lot of power comes a heck of a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
Then she just kind of rides the table raft off off to the side of the screen.
That's all I could really think of off the top of my head myself.
I liked Fluttershy's line delivery when Starlight asks her, "Where are all the animals?" and she's like, "They ran away."
Oh yeah,
It's just just like completely emotionless.
just total deadpan response. Yeah, with the sort of that bemused smile, thanks to the mind control.
The entire second act was just hilarious. That whole mind control segment, it just had so many great one-liners from all of them. Let's see. I'm gonna go grab another slice of pizza. Let's go to the animation and the visuals. What does everyone have to say about that?
Well, like you mentioned beforehand, the animation on Pinky's arms when she was just going to town making those cakes was just brilliant. Probably one of the best things I've seen on the entire episode. But I will say that the visuals for the little mock duel that we had between Starlight and Twilight at the beginning of the episode was really good. Starlight managing to cast that obviously not Captain America shield. Then we had the crystal barrier that she was able to encase herself in, and just the spells in general that they were just firing back and forth and sort of trying to one up each other with.
It wasn't Captain America; it was Captain Equestria.
Okay, I'm back with another slice of pizza. I loved the duel. The animation during the duel at the beginning was really well done.
Yeah, I was mentioning that. Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else knows, or if you all said this, but Starlight has a picture of a crossed out equal sign on her wall.
Yep. We didn't mention that, but I believe it was slightly referenced when I believe I mentioned that there was some references, callbacks to the earlier episodes.
Picture of Trixie.
And someone actually posted the picture in the chat room.
There's also a picture of her town as well on the wall.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've seen her room in the castle. So it's nice seeing that and seeing it's very simple and very plain, but it has some nice stuff on the walls.
And actually, I finally have incontrovertible proof to a friend. I could say, "Hi, yes, look at that. Starlight does indeed live in the castle. What the hell, bitch?"
Well, she didn't before this episode. She just moved in, obviously.
You're still a homeless bum.
Yeah, we already mentioned like all the creepy facial animation throughout the second act. It was just so simple, but yet so effective.
I think we've not mentioned Twilight's reaction. With how angry she was. That was pretty good as well.
And Rainbow. And Pinky.
I say, yeah, Pinky's face with those ballooned out cheeks and sort of dripping with the
Oh my God.
cupcake frosting.
Oh yeah.
That's a definite runner-up for face of the episode.
I have diabetes just from looking at that.
I still say Twilight Turner's face just is kind of a, coming up from that. I showed that to one of my friends, and she's like, she reminds her so much of Timmy Turner, and I'm like, well, obviously since Tara Strong did indeed voice both characters, then it's probably kind of a given there.
Where's my... Okay, let's see. Let's move on to the score and the backing music for the episode. So, we had a little bit of Starlight's themes reappear in this episode, both kind of like modified, slightly varied versions of them from her episodes this season and her episodes in season 5 as well. So we hear a lot of those. We hear a lot of other themes be dropped throughout the entire thing. So let's just start from right at the beginning in the action-packed opening of the episode there. We start right off the bat with the Princess Twilight Sparkle motif from season 4. Got that kind of Western duel going on here at the beginning here. That little theme right there. That's when they kind of teleport to the woods. That's actually a musical cue that was used in the season 5 finale when Twilight is walking with Zecora in the alternate timeline through the same kind of woods. Okay, so now we go forward to now. Let's see. This is trying to remember what part of the episode that is. This is when Starlight, after the opening theme song, is showing some of her spells that she's learned to Twilight. little kind of alternate based on the key. Oops, pause. Kind of a little alternate, kind of little minor version of the magic of friendship motif at the end of that, as they're talking about her friendship lessons. Next one is a scene from with Spike coming up and talking to Starlight in her room before they head off here. And then we get to the non-song here from Pinkie Pie.
After all, it's a piece of cake to bake a pretty cake. We're on a schedule. No time for a song.
Oh, that was weird. That kind of cut off there for some reason. Let me see. I don't know why that keeps jumping. Do I have? I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So we got a little fake song there. Again with Pinkie Pie, with and Jared Lippman singing just really over the top there, which was pretty funny. Let's see. So now we get to Starlight. This is when the story the score gets a little mischievous here as Starlight is going through and trying to figure out how she's going to do these friendship lessons, and she's putting these spells together. You'll notice here that we have that some of the themes, and I'll try and point out when we get to them in this track, are based on Starlight Glimmer's music and score from the season 5 opener. So you'll notice that as she starts kind of getting a little mischievous, I guess you could say, a little, she's putting all these spells together, and she has that kind of old Starlight tone in her voice. We get some more of her score from that season 5 opener here. Here's that score here. We also have a little bit of at the end there too, and we'll hear that throughout the next part when we get through the second act, and everyone acting really really weird through it. But yeah, you could hear in the middle part there we have those little the little bell part and the strings. That was kind of a very similar theme to what we had back in the season 5 premiere with the more evil, not reformed Starlight there. So as she's trying to go back to these spells, we get that kind of score brought back. So here's the score from that whole crazy second act here. And we'll have a couple different things in here. We start here with Pinkie Pie baking the cake with Starlight, and this is a theme we've heard before. I believe in an episode before with Pinkie Pie baking something, so it's used for the same situation here. And you'll hear that little cue throughout this here, that very eerie cue, as another one we heard from season 5. It's really off-putting rarity score here. You can hear us, we're going back and forth between all the different characters, and they each have their own little cue that plays for them in this scene. So things really get crazy at the end of the track there. So that takes us out of the second act there. So that track's pretty much a trimmed down version of the entire second act there, with all the craziness going on. So we come up with now in the scene with Twilight talking to Starlight and how she's kind of missing the point to everything here, which is coincidentally the name of the track. Ooh, one thing I will point out here is right here is we have Starlight's Reformed theme, which is the theme that she's had used for her since the beginning of this season. We heard it a lot in the season opener, and we heard it again in her episodes this season as well. It's a modified version of the her more evil theme that she had in season 5 and the season 5 premiere. And they've William Anderson modified it for this season, kind of give it a little more bright tone, bright sounding nature to it. So we hear a little different kind of version of it here, but with the same beat. Spike's Spike's sweeping is so good there that it's in all the channels, so it's just kind of there. There's Starlight's motif there again. Here's an extended version of it here. And a couple of other cues from this season mixed in at the end of the track there. So now we get to her Starlight apologizing to the main six. So one of the series' newer lesson motifs here. You can kind of hear a little bit of the beginning of the magic of the friendship theme here as Applejack kind of forgives her. And that's something that we've heard a lot more last season, especially this season, is a lot of times we'll have the magic of friendship theme, but it will kind of be really woven into a different score. So you'll just kind of hear the same note progression or chord progression, but it won't actually be the entire theme like we would have in like season 4, where we'd have the theme very prominently in different parts. Here it's a little more blended in with a different score, and you just kind of hear the same note progression going through it. So then we get to the big music from this episode, the montage scene. This season has really become kind of the season of montages. There's been a lot of montages between the score and also songs, like the Derby Racers song was a montage, and we had a lot of like off the top of my head I can know Applejack's Day Off had a montage. The It's Gonna Work had a montage with the instrumental. I mean, the song was It's Going to Work from the one episode in Canterlot with the Indian restaurant, I forget the name, but that had a montage scene with the instrumental of the song. We just had a montage like a week or two ago, I believe, with let's see what in the Gabby episode. So there's been a lot of montages. This Saddle Row Review, yeah. So I mean, and even before that, so I haven't gone back and counted, but there's been a lot of montages this season, which I really like because usually the music is featured very prominently in a montage, and usually the sound effects and dialogue are kept at a minimum. So I don't have to increase the sound or increase the volume of any of the tracks like I have to do for the backing music. It's already at full volume and clean. And especially great in terms when it's not a song that's accompanying the montage, when it's score, because it really gives William Anderson a lot more freedom. He doesn't have to work the music around a scene necessarily. It can actually be a more complete track, like an actual song, rather than maybe little snippets of musical cues as we progress through a scene. It's able to be more one cohesive track. It allows them to be a little more creative, and it's really fun to hear these different tracks that we have for these montages, because usually it's a completely new score. It isn't something that's reused like we would have in other parts of the episode. So yeah, let's go ahead and play this track here. I really like the sound of it. It's kind of like an elevator, almost like a sort of like an elevator music feel to it in terms of its instrumentation. Love the key change here. So that's a really fun track. So yay, more montage music. I really like that. I really like the kind of the keyboard instrumentation of it, and the upbeat nature. I really like the key change in the middle of it. There was really nice. So we get to the final track here with Twilight explaining to Starlight that she's unknowingly completed her assignments in terms of the friendship lessons with the rest of the main six here. And here we just have another one of the more recent lesson themes here. Some nice, cool, chillaxing music at the end there. Okay, so that's the score. I really like it because it really nicely blends very seamlessly and very almost you don't notice it unless you're really listening to the score. Blends in Starlight's motifs and the magic of friendship motifs, and it has that really fun montage score to it. So I really like the score for this week's episode here. There's other, I forgot to point it out because I didn't have time to really go through since I was sick this weekend. I didn't have enough time to really go into the music and look at and see when tracks and stuff were used last. But I'm pretty sure one of the parts of one of those songs was used. I think it was maybe in the scene where she was apologizing, or either that or the missing the point track had a piece of score that was used in the Trixie. I believe it was the Trixie. It might have been the season opener. It was at the end of one of those previous Starlight episodes in the similar situation. So it was kind of cool seeing that being reused, but I didn't have enough time to go through and actually confirm that. But I believe it was, which was kind of cool. So that's all for the score. See if I can. There we go. So, what does everyone think about the theme and the moral of the episode?
Alrighty, let's see. Theme and moral. Well,
wait, let me turn my volume down.
I'm sorry. Basically, the Aesop here is, essentially it's really shouldn't try to hit two birds with one stone sometimes. I mean, you may end up snowballing several small problems into a much larger one. And, again, it's like Spider-Man. Sometimes with a whole lot of power that you've got, you do have a lot of responsibility. I mean, it is kind of a bit of a lampshade hang on there, especially since, obviously who's going to use magic to mind control people? I mean, that's not exactly a real-life situation, but to put things in a more perspective, I mean, friendship does require compromise. I mean, you kind of have to, every relationship's kind of give and take, and even then, I mean, there's activities that requires. It's not the activity itself that's the bonding experience. It's making sure you're doing it together. So.
Friendship is magic.
But just in case you missed it, don't mind control your friends and don't be a dick.
There we go. That's what I was waiting for. Turn my earphone volume down. There we go. Let me turn it back up. Kind of reading stuff in the chat here too.
The catchphrase was so nice, we had it twice in the episode.
Don't put off doing a ton of projects till the end of the semester. pretty much that's the lesson here. The Starlight's magical spell was just kind of a allusion to pulling all-nighters. Yeah, they let her know that they were pissed off and what she did was wrong, but they did forgive her at the behest of Best Pony Applejack.
I suppose the corollary is also just to make sure to forgive your friends, even if they had been a dick to you.
Let's see. So, everyone's favorite parts and any concerns?
Okay, obviously my favorite part here has to be the one where Pinky's just kind of going nuts. Just her wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube and everything, just putting all the ingredients into the bowl. That is obviously one of my favorites. My other favorite part is basically just Rarity taking things way too literally. Like, can you make this dress? And then she just actually just makes it. She just draws it, yeah.
And that drawing was so great too. Oh my gosh. And
you trace this.
And then she's like, I need it bigger. And of course, so we see her later grabbing a whole like roll of a rug. It's like, this will be really big. It's like, oh my god. Yeah, that entire second act. I mean, it's hard for me to pick out a single thing from that I liked the most. It was that entire second act was both just hilarious and it was just very hilariously creepy. And each of the characters had their moment to shine, with all the Applejack's lines and that she had, and the whole mannerism the mannerisms that she had. Pinky's, of course, like Mr. Ben already hit on with her crazy arms, just not even looking at what she's doing. Rarity's lines, Fluttershy just being completely showing up covered in bugs, which was just, oh my god. Rainbow Dash actually bringing like all the storm clouds into the thing, and I really liked her line later in the episode where she's like, "Yeah, I should probably get all those storm clouds out of the bathroom."
One of my other favorite things, right at near the beginning, is just the fact that they clearly got away with the Hangover reference.
Yeah.
just everybody, just their eyes are just kind of like baggy eyes and just still blush in their face.
Rarity was the best though. She was just totally the worst of all of them. She had the hat on, she had the glasses on, and just like no loud noises, please. Not even Fluttershy. It's like, oh my gosh.
What did we all do last night?
Where the heck is Twilight?
The only thing that would have made that even better is if they all woke up in the same bed.
Oh boy.
Awkward questions abound.
What did Starlight make us do while we were under her spell?
Well, Starlight was getting pretty frustrated, so she probably just got really frustrated and yelled out "fuck" and then ran out of the room. And and there's your fan fiction writing prompt, everyone.
Let's see, I just kind of have the mental image of I kind of have expected earlier in the episode when, like, right after their little wizard duel, I kind of just sort of half expected that when Twilight, or not Twilight, but Starlight was asking, okay, so what's next? Twilight would have just immediately said, reshelving the library again.
Yeah.
Starlight was pretty good at that with her speed spell though. Although she probably just kind of randomly put them up there. Twilight's plotting her revenge for just completely ruining her organization. Yeah, it was nice. Besides the second act, it was just a great. This is just a great Starlight episode. So I really liked her character development in this. I mean, like I said, the only thing I had negative to say about this episode really isn't even about the episode itself. The episode itself was fantastic. I think its placement could have maybe been altered in hindsight, but it worked the way it was still. So the episode itself was just fantastic.
Yeah, my like I said earlier, my only real major complaint has just the overuse of the chillax word. That's just the only thing I have to complain about.
Oh, you know he was doing that though just to piss people off.
Oh yeah, of course.
just the way Rainbow Dash says chillax throughout the entire, that they're just like, this is gonna grind some people's gears. And I someone posted in the chat earlier too. I'll mention it here on stream that Big Jim actually did send out a tweet during the episode saying that he was very angry at Mike Vogel for getting that into the episode because he was really annoyed by it. So he's like, yeah, you can thank Mike Vogel for that.
Chillax! It wasn't overused that much.
Oh, I still think as annoying as that word is, it's perfect for Rainbow Dash. I can totally see her saying that. Okay, so what's everyone's final thoughts, overall feelings, conclusions of the episode?
I'm actually going to say that personally, I believe this was a better episode than the previous weeks. But I'll leave that to when we cover that tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe. I don't know. I find it hard. I personally find it hard to compare because they're kind of two different things.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely I think overall I probably like this episode better just because of the content it's dealing with, and it being a Starlight episode because I was really looking forward to another Starlight episode. Yeah, he's just really good. Mike Vogel again just comes in and just delivers another really, really great episode. So, be interesting to see. I mean, that's kind of one of those things where you're expecting Josh Haber to write the finale, but I'm kind of hoping that maybe Mike Vogel also helps write the finale to this because I think he would do really good. And I'd like to see him do even more, and hopefully he'd have some sort of involvement with writing that. Good ep. I don't think Matt's awake anymore. I was gonna say this episode got good. Maybe he'll wake up in a rage. Matt got good at sleeping. Oh, yeah, he's gone. It's always it's always my long music segment that he drops out in. I think one of the coolest things. This is kind of something that I didn't really mention in the character discussion because it's something we've already covered a lot. But I just really like how they're using Starlight to kind of fill the void that Twilight kind of left once she kind of became a princess. So they're able to use a lot of those season 1 kind of lessons and more basic friendship stuff and stuff that they used to do all the time for Twilight in the earlier seasons, but would feel out of place doing it for her now. They're able to still do that. So they were able to have Princess Twilight and all the stories that come with that, but now we're able to have Starlight too, and her being Twilight's apprentice and the stories that come with that, and have her take on a lot of those friendship lessons. And it's nice to see that used here, of course.
I'm almost kind of curious if they're going to bring back the friendship letters only instead of Twilight writing them to Celestia, just Starlight just going to be writing them to Twilight instead. I mean, I doubt it, but...
Yeah, the only difference is Twilight is actually in the show.
I mean, Twilight is sort of getting friendship letters off screen from Sunset or the diary, or the journal, whatever it was, but still.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to more Starlight episodes. So hopefully we'll have another one this season, which is rapidly coming to a close, which boggles my mind because it just feels like season 5 just ended, and now we're already talking about coming to the end of season 6 here so quickly. Not many episodes left, so. Well, with that, thank you so much for joining us today for Equine Episode Examination. Remember, tomorrow we will be back with another episode already, so make sure to come back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time here in CinemaQuestria, and we'll be talking about previous episode, Viva Las Pegasus, which of course we had to unfortunately put off last week, but we will be getting to that tomorrow at 5, so make sure to join us then. If you're watching this on a recording, we do record this every week, triply every week at CinemaQuestria.com. We record it live, so if you want to join the chat, come join us Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, except for tomorrow, Wednesday, we'll be having that special makeup episode at 5. So make sure to come stop on by and do that. If you ever miss an episode here, we have all the episodes up in our archive on the website, so you can rewatch them at any time. They should be up no more than like 24 hours after they show, depending on Google's processing. So you can stop by, rewatch that, leave a comment in the comment section on the video or in the Discus comments we have. And make sure to check out the Discus forum that we have for episode discussions as well, when we're not chatting away here. Of course, this weekend we do have another new episode as MLP continues on, so we will be doing PPOV, which is the episode name, PPOV, Pony Point of View, in parentheses, which is the episode's name. That's going to be this weekend. So we will be talking about that episode next Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So make sure to join us then for Pony Point of View. Make sure to join us tomorrow, Wednesday at 5 p.m. for Viva Las Pegasus as we kind of catch back up here on our Tripoli episodes. So thanks so much for joining us here tonight.